All right, 6th grade theory test question number 1. You should have already worked the question about the circle of fifths so that way you have the advantage when you get to the other questions and your brain is headed the right direction. So this should be the second question that you work, not the first. That's what I would encourage you to do. On the staff below, draw stems, flags, beams, sharps, or flats to make the type of note indicated. So basically, anything goes, right? So be very, very careful. You have to get the note name accurate and the note kind accurate. Follow all the instructions given, all right? So these are just examples. Be prepared. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you are looking at the clef sign. If this were a treble clef, it'd be entirely different, so never assume. Look at the clef sign. Eighth notes on C and G. Well, by this point in your education, you should know that this is C and this is G without there being much trouble. If you are still struggling with your note naming and you're not sure about the actual placement of notes, please talk to me in a lesson and we will make sure that we satisfy that immediately, because this test would be very difficult if you were still struggling with note naming. So we're going to use eighth notes on C and G and we're going to beam them together. So it's okay for you to draw up and into the words above. Remember that eighth notes beamed together. That means that you could also draw it down. What they don't want to see is a C and a G with the flags, okay? This is a no, all right? They want to see them with the beam across the top connecting them. Enough said about that. 16th note on F sharp. I know this is F, and I need to draw 16th notes. So 16th notes have two flags. Make sure that if it's going this direction, that you put the flags on the same side as the note head with the stem on the left, flags going up under the head. If you decided to do this one way down here, that'd also be fine because it's on an F. You would do the flags on the opposite side of the note head. Always remember that if you get confused, you can look through the test and there's always a possibility that you'll find it on another page. If you're like, I'm just not 100% sure, look and see if maybe the artwork, the notes, the shapes of them themselves may be in another question. So don't give up if you get confused. And be careful because they said make sure that it's F sharp, which means you have to add the sharp to it on the left-hand side, not on this side, but on this side. And when you draw the sharp, I know it's not nearly as pretty as it is printed on the test, but if you do them more squared off, that can be useful because then the window, the box part in the middle, is very clearly assigned to that note, not up here, not down there. Sometimes when we do them at an angle, that window gets off and they get cranky when they're grading the test. So be very, very clear that it applies to the same line or space that the note head sits in, okay? Eighth note on B flat. So we'll find a B flat. And this one says use a flag. So there's our B flat, and I'm going to use the flag. 16th notes on D and A, and use a beam. Okay, so we've got one on D, one on A, and there's one beam. And remember, just like with the 16th note over here, there has to be two. So here's number 2. I'm not going to claim that my printing is gloriously beautiful, but it's acceptable because I passed all these tests. So make sure that it doesn't have to be perfect, but you are very clean and clear in your printing.